HBO's TV series Girls. Here's the pilot episode review. Okay, so I'm a little bit late for the prom, like watching this show, but I did the whole marathon. So here are my reviews, starting with the pilot. I'm sure the show's been overanalyzed to death in certain bloggers and stuff like that. So I'm sure my opinions are not totally original, because if I'm seeing it, someone else is probably seeing it too. But basically what this HBO show is, what it's doing, it's almost basically doing a Sex and the City bizarro version, or the real version of what girls go through when they move to the big city and they're 20 years old, and this is the reality. Because obviously, I'm sure this has happened to a lot when like all these younger girls were watching Sex and the City and thinking that, oh, look how great New York is, blah 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 blah, I'm gonna go and try to make it, and things like that, where it was like such a fantasy show. Because like if Carrie Bradshaw had that column in the real world, she wouldn't have that apartment, and she wouldn't make nearly as much money as that you thought that she was making in the show. And so what Girls is doing, it's almost like a parallel, because there's obviously 4 girls in Sex and the City, and there's 4 girls in the Girls show, and the lead is a writer who's trying to become a writer, and it's basically a show about like girls who are trying to make it in a big city, and why are they living in the big city because of all of these problems, and this is what the reality is. So I'm sure this has been told before, but it was kind of funny because HBO has done both shows, where it's like about time, because the idealized version of what Sex and the City is, and probably, you know, some can argue it was a little bit more harmful than it was good, because it was so unrealistic, and a lot of people thought that was realism. So Girls is the grounded show. Even aesthetically, it's grounded show. Like, it's not. It is what New York City was when I was living there, and it's kind of like not what Sex and the City was when I was living there. So it's great. It's like, it sets up, because it shows that I'm old, because the first episode is about the parents cutting off the 24-year-old girl. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that's what she needs to do. And basically, she needs to be cut off because she needs to become a woman. And basically, I'm sure that wasn't the intent for that the Generation Y or the Generation YX who's watching the show. But kudos, great show. I was hooked from the beginning. That's my pilot review.